Hello and welcome to the SingaporeConnect forum. For those of you joining us for the first time, SingaporeConnect is a San Francisco Bay Area-based volunteer-run overseas Singaporean group which was started about 20 years ago. Since March 15th this year, SingaporeConnect has been facilitating these community updates on the evolving COVID-19 situation in partnership with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Singapore Global Network. We've also had special guest subject matter experts from our community. In our previous sessions, we've addressed the impact of COVID-19 on personal and professional topics like COVID-19 prevention, the search for the COVID-19 cure, mental health during shelter-in-place, the US-Singapore visa situation, job opportunities in Singapore, education, Singaporean Bay Area restaurants, as well as cooking Singapore food at home. A session with us in this COVID-19 SingaporeConnect forum. So let's go through some of the updates from a COVID-19 update perspective from Singapore. And here with us, especially our new Consul General, William Chick. Welcome again. We welcomed William last week where he introduced himself and his wife. And this week we are having him give us a quick update on what's happening in Singapore. It looks like things are positive, as I can tell.
Yep.
Been a session with us in this COVID-19 SingaporeConnect forum. As we talk about staying safe, is a great segue towards Halloween. Now, some of our kids out there in our population might be actually trick-or-treating. And as we move into the special topic for today, we're actually going to be talking about negotiation, trick or treat, which is the classic negotiations, right? Actually, Anuj, for, that the Americans actually teach their kids right from the onset, about how to negotiate and get what you deserve. So this evening, Anuj is going to tell us a little bit more about negotiations. But before we get there, let's learn a little bit more about the attendees and the survey responses. So when people talk about negotiations, we have many of us who actually feel nervous about negotiations. There's a portion of us, a quarter of us, who actually feel excited. Some others feel scared, reflective, and so forth. And as we break down some of these different reasons, this is what people are telling us. They're nervous because they're unsure what to expect. They're unsure how the other person will respond. They're kind of worried they're being too much and they might lose the deal entirely. They're worried about pushing too hard and getting that offer withdrawn, right? So there's that concern about the other party as well. And being able to actually provide super convincing reasons, because some people are not confident about their position as well. And they're not confident about what the other side will come up with. So those are some of the concerns that people are articulating when they say they feel nervous going into negotiations. On the other hand, there's some of us who actually feel excited because they're excited about the possible outcome. They're excited they can get more, that it might be actually more advantageous. And there are others on the flip side of that actually on the spectrum are actually scared. They are worried because they think, salary negotiations might be difficult. They don't know if they may, just like the nervous lots, right, might be worried about it affecting future working relationships. So they're not just worried, they're actually scared that it might actually damage, right, the relationship moving forward. Anuj, does that sound common in terms of what you've seen in negotiations? Oh, you're on mute, Anuj. Still muted, but I see you nodding your head. So
I think that's pretty much the idea that I've seen across the other workshops that I've had. I'm glad to see so many excited. The percentage of excited is a good sign.
Yeah, because I think for me, I feel excited going to negotiations, but I feel it's an opportunity to change the status quo and potentially at least reach an outcome that might be better for all of us concerned. And especially
hopefully we can shift some of the nervous and scared into more excited after this session.
Exactly. After today's session, right, Anuj, once we're armed with some of your tips and tricks as well. So many of us here have not attended any negotiation classes or read any negotiation books. So that might, as you mentioned, account for a lot of that nervous energy, right? Because we just
Mm-hmm.
don't know if we can get a better deal from this. Many of us are involved in professional negotiations. Some of us actually do a lot of personal ones. And yet some of us also are negotiating with our kids, you know, for TV time, for all sorts of different benefits or more candy, as it were, this evening, right? So we negotiate all the time in our lives, you know, in every conversation with our husbands, I feel that all the time. Who gets the remote control, what channel we watch? Those are all negotiations, whether it's high stakes or not. And someone might argue that negotiating for the remote control might actually be very personally high stakes, you know, but in any case, what is critical in negotiations in our mind? So what we're hearing is that a lot of people feel, even, you know, 60% of folks who have not gone through this intuitively know that it's important knowing what I want and what I'm willing to give up. And there's some actually who mentioned, yeah, empathy, right? Is some of the key things, getting the big picture, tone. Another person here is getting the best deal I could possibly get, but not at the expense of the other party, i.e. win-win, which is a very key negotiation term. So this person is one of those, I'm sure, who have read, you know, or been exposed to negotiations. And then you have others that say, you know, like knowing the bottom line, what you're willing to let go of. Also a very insightful comment from a negotiations perspective. We're also seeing a lot of, you know, words around fairness, right? Knowing the goals, knowing what you want, empathy, understanding what's happening, and knowing and finding that common ground from a trust perspective. So a lot of interesting ideas about how this is actually something to do with people to people type of perspective, building trust, finding common values. And, you know, as people have questions for you, they're wondering, for example, is it typical for negotiators to think in terms of win-lose, win-win? How to negotiate when the bargaining power is unbalanced. Sometimes at work, it feels that way, right? When you want to bet more salary, but the boss seems to hold all the cards, right? And then there's someone else here as well. I think I know who, as a research psychologist, who's curious to learn more about the kind of research you drew upon to develop your negotiation recommendations and how you went about doing so. So that's important as well, because we really want this to be sort of data driven, right? And I'm sure you have a lot of cool examples. And then there's someone else who asked for mantra or phrase that can use as a reminder when negotiating. So, you know, something where you can be mindful of as you head into these conversations when they could be very lengthy and every word might make a difference as well. And then, of course, on a personal note, a member of our survey participants here was interested in learning a little bit more about your most difficult negotiating experience. So this is always interesting when all these stories come out. So this, I hope, Anuj, helps set the stage in terms of your conversation, your thoughts on negotiations. And maybe at this point, I think it will be great for me to pass the ball over to you so you can share your screen and take us through a quick introduction into where you come from, Anuj, and your background in negotiations.
Absolutely. Let's do that. Let me know when you, or
Yes,
maybe I
I've
can.
released control, so you should be able to proceed.
And let me know when you can see this.
Yes, it's starting to come up. Perfect.
Okay. So let's dive a little bit and hope you can see my screen. Is it good?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so basically, welcome to Negotiating with an Impact. The session, as Jas also mentioned, is to help you maybe a little bit. I know we don't have that much time. Generally, a session like this would be like 3-4 days, or the way I conduct my workshop, it's at least a day, and I've condensed all that into an hour, maybe even less. So let's at least try to get as much as we can. I want to highlight that this has been my topic of interest for the last 5 years. I have actually hosted workshops both at work and outside of work, so in many different organizations outside of my work and across the globe in several locations. And I'm actually passionate about teaching negotiation, and also I have written 2 books that some of you might know. And I'm glad to share my perspective with all of you. I want to call out right now that the information that I'm sharing doesn't end here. I'm open to sharing as much information as you want, even after the session. You can contact me through various resources, through various sources that or platforms that I'm on, and we can talk more after the session also. So don't hesitate on that. Let's jump into this material. Probably could take about 40 minutes. So let's jump into this. And I think we will take some Q&A after, right, Jess? Maybe after the slides are done.
Absolutely.
And I can address those questions if you can read out again to me after the session. But let's at least go through. I will breeze through these slides. So if you have anything in specific that you need, you can note down, and then we can discuss later. But in the interest of time, I'll just go through the slides with you as best as possible. So let's see, what is negotiation in general. Basically, a lot of people have said, oh, it's a win-win. Some have said it's a win-lose. Probably, maybe you have a point to put across, and you want that point to be noted, and you want to win. A lot of people have come across with many different definitions or meanings of negotiation, but this is what I have come up with. It's an interactive exchange. Of course, you're having an exchange with the other party to achieve desired outcomes. Both parties have their own desired outcomes. So that's where it makes it win-win. So individually, you want to achieve something, but at the same time, on an integrative basis, which meaning combined for all the parties, you want to achieve desired outcomes. So that should be the ultimate goal. And if you can strive towards that goal, I think it will be the most effective negotiation. Now, negotiation is everywhere. We all are already negotiators. We have our own styles, but we can, of course, improve upon our negotiation abilities through practice and learning and reflection and everything else that you can do to make yourself better. So you might have your own styles because you have been negotiating for a long time in a certain way, or you have a dominant inherent style, but you can always tweak that style or adopt a different style if you know exactly what you need and how you need to approach that. And negotiation builds off of several subjects. So you can see it is combined in terms of the knowledge. It's from deriving knowledge from law, organizational behavior, economics, and several other topics. And that's in psychology. And that's why negotiation is such an important and exciting topic. And that's what I feel is, because it's drawing from all these different subjects. It's a nice mix of several different topics, and it makes you excited. I'm sure some of you that said it's exciting is because of the reason that negotiation pulls off of so many different topics. Now, what we will go through quickly is the balance of negotiation. When I say balance of negotiation, what I mean is there are two sides of a balance. One side is the science of negotiation, and the other side is the art of negotiation. And as you know, a balance has to balance, and both sides have to be same. That basically means that the science of negotiation and art have to be aligned and have to complement each other to make it an effective negotiation. Now, what is the science of negotiation? It's a three-step process or three-phase process. The three phases are prepare, engage, and close, as you can see on the top here. You need to follow that proper process, but that process has to be supported by appropriate behaviors and influencing techniques, and that's what will make your process more effective. So that's the science and the art of negotiation, which has to be balanced in the sense that you want to make it more effective. So striking that right balance will make it more effective. So that's why I call it a balance of negotiation. Let's go through some of the phases now quickly. Prepare phase. I will discuss the approaches to negotiation first. So there are two distinct approaches in negotiation. One is called a distributive negotiation, where you assume that you go in with a certain point and you want to win your point. Now, in that process, you might have to compromise and come to a middle ground, or one party might get more than the other. So it's like a pie. Imagine it to be a pie, and you need to split the pie. So one gets 60, the other gets 40, one gets 50, or you get 50-50, whatever way it is. You have to find that middle ground. And these type of negotiations, the approach to distributive approach basically means that you don't know the party very well, maybe it's a one-time transaction. What you want is just to get your point across, and and get what you want. So that's a distributive approach. Now the other one is integrative. Integrative basically means that you strive for a win-win, and that's why I keep highlighting that win-win, because integrative, what it does is it builds on having good relationships, having open, honest communications, knowing each other's interests, and trying to strive for mutually beneficial solutions. And that is how it makes a win-win. So integrative approach, in my opinion, is the way to go. I know there are several cases where you might have to, it might just be a distributive. You might have to adopt a distributive approach to the negotiation. For example, if you're selling your car to somebody you don't even know, it's somebody on Craigslist who came in to buy your car, you don't intend to build any relationship for the longer term. All you need is to sell your car at the price you want. Maybe that's a distributive negotiation. But in most of the cases where it's a business negotiation or professional negotiation with your boss, with your family, in all those cases, you should strive to make it such that both parties are happy. Now, as a part of the prepare phase, this is one of the questions I think was, I don't know what what I want to present, or I want to make sure that I'm presenting myself properly, or I'm at least articulating what I want, things like that. So CAV framework is a framework I have developed. Now, let me explain that, what CAV framework stands for. The C stands for competency. So when you have a product, or when you have an idea, or a general discussion where you have a point, that point, first of all, is the what of the point is, what is your idea and why is it beneficial? So that is your competency. If it's a product, what is your product and why is it beneficial? What does it do for the other user? So explaining the features or the benefits of your product or idea. That's competency. Ability basically is anything special with your competency. So you might have a product, it might be a good product, you highlight the benefits, you explain what the features are and everything, but what is so special in your ability to deliver that product, or your ability to share that idea, or special aspects of your idea, things like that. So what is the special, unique ability of your idea or product? That's the A. And then V stands for value. So basically, you have a competency, you have a good product, or you have a good idea which benefits people. Maybe there are other products and ideas also. You have a special ability also. So you might have a special ability, but maybe somebody else also has special ability. What can you do extra? What extra value? Maybe some extra benefits, maybe some goodies, maybe some gifts, or discounts, or whatever you can provide, anything extra that you can give over and above the competency and ability. So that's the extra value. So the competency, ability, and value together, the CAV framework basically says that if you have these properly documented and highlighted together, these three things are what will differentiate you from other people who might have a similar idea or a product. So you have to be able to demonstrate your CAV properly. So let's explore that with an example. Let's take the case of Google search, right? What is the CAV framework of Google search? Obviously, the competency is to be able to provide you the search results. You want a search, you have a search that you have asked for. It is providing you that search results from millions of websites across the world. It's giving you the best possible information that you want, and that is their product, and that's the benefit that it's giving you. What is their special or unique ability? The special unique ability is the fact that it has a page rank algorithm that is ranking all the pages across the globe to give you the most meaningful information. It might give you millions of search results, but it's also ranking that for you, right? So it has that extra special ability that that differentiates Google search from, let's say, any other search. Now, in addition, there are also, because of the troves of data and servers that they have built, they're able to provide you, and the pages that they have already ranked and stored, they're able to provide you the information that you need at like milliseconds, nanoseconds, that they can give you the information. So that's the unique ability. Not many people can do that. What is the extra value that they give you? So their competency is great, their ability is great, but do they have any extra value? Yes, of course, they have some extra value. The extra value is basically comes from the fact that you can sign up for a Google alert. Basically, you go, even today, you can do google.com/alerts. You can go and search something and say, I want alerts on this search. And every day it sends you some new information. So basically, if you have a search and you want to continue, it's like getting a scheduled search result every day. And if that's something that you're interested in, you can do that. So not many people do that. So that's the extra value they're giving you. They're also giving you extra value in terms of, and maybe this is a slightly ability plus value thing, is when you go into search on Chrome browser, let's say you have the Google Chrome, you go into search, it immediately populates for you what you are probably looking for, because it has the troves of information and it can tell you what you might be looking for. So it actually can populate the search for you even without typing it fully. So things like that are the extra value that Google is able to give you. And that's why the competency, the ability, and the value together makes Google so special. This CAV framework can be applied to practically everything. I have applied to an idea that my colleague, it's in the book actually, a colleague had an idea about having a replica of a server, how he highlighted how he could highlight the CAV framework is explained in the book. Just last week, I spoke to a health fitness entrepreneur, and I was trying to highlight to her what the CAV framework for her business would be, and things like that. So it could be applied almost everywhere. If you have any questions at any point, I'm happy to address how to come up with the CAV framework for your own information. Now, the next slide is on assessing interest. It's probably one of the most important and key takeaways of the presentation. And like I have been saying, to achieve that win-win, you have to step back and assess interest of the other party. I think some of you mentioned this on your on the points that you had highlighted. Is what is critical in a negotiation is knowing not only what you want, but knowing what the other party also might want. So that's the assessing of the interest. So there are two different parts of this assessing interest. One is position. You have a position, you go into a negotiation with a position. Like, I want this, I want that. So that's the position. Why do you have that position? Is there is some underlying interest behind that position. If you just go on the basis of the position, it's not going to be effective, because all you're saying is, I want this. But only when you highlight and negotiate on the interest, basically what is underlying behind that position, only when you talk open, honest communication and think creatively, create new solutions based on that, mutually beneficial solutions, and also try to build a longer term solutions. That's when you make it more effective, is because now you're moving out of the positions and going into the actual interest of what you're asking. So let's take an example. This is just a cartoon that I had found. Basically, both the donkeys here they have a pile of hay and they want that, but then they come up with a mutually beneficial solution and share that. So that's a funny way of putting that across. But there is a classic orange story. I don't know how many of you have heard this, but there is one orange and there are two sisters who want that orange. Now, both are fighting over it. The mother comes along and says, okay, the best solution for you is I give you half. So you get this half, you get this half. So that's it. Is it fair? It seems like it's fair, right? Because both got something out of it. But they got they got something on the position. The position of each of the sisters was, I want the orange. They got half of a fairly good reason or a result for the positions. But what the mother could have done, and if she had done it, it would have been more meaningful, is she could have assessed or tried to assess the interest behind those positions. Why do you want the orange? Now, if she had asked one sister, one sister would have said, I want this skin, the peel, because I'm trying to bake a cake with the orange rind. That's what the sister wanted. The other wanted the fruit. So obviously, if you had tried to find out more about the interest, basically what this example highlights is, don't focus on the positions, step back and try to find the interest. So if she had found the interest of both, maybe both of them would have benefited more from that negotiation. So there are several other examples. In the interest of time, I cannot go through some of those, but one of the workshop examples that came up was, my customer always says, I want a 15-day delivery, and that's their position. So what I try to find out is, why do they actually want that 15-day delivery? Are they doing something and then sending it across? So what it turned out to be is that they're probably packaging it with a certain tag or label and then sending it across to somebody. Now, if you found that out, and let's assume that in your case, you need about 13 or 14 days to manufacture that product, you can say, okay, you need this thing in 15 days, and then you have 4 or 5 days to send it to somebody. What I can do is I can manufacture it for 14 days. Obviously, in the 15th day, I cannot get it to you in one day. But what I can do is, if we plan in advance, I can send the thing to your end customer, doing whatever you need to do, send that, and that way I can also meet your 20-day goal. So it's problem solving, basically. The more you talk, the more open and honest communication you have, the better, and that's how you can come up with a better solution and result. Now let's look at another concept, which is alternatives. So when you go into a negotiation, you obviously have a reservation price. That's your base level of information, base level of price. So for example, if you're selling your car, you want to get, let's say, a certain amount of a price. Now you can put that price, the buyer will have their own price, and then you negotiate on that price. So that's your base price. Anything less or more than that, you will not accept. So if you're a seller, anything less than X will not work for you. Or if you're a buyer, anything more than Y will not work for you. So things like that, that's your base price, reservation price. In addition, there is a concept called train, which is top ranked alternative in negotiations. What this basically means is, when you go into a negotiation, in addition to having your reservation price identified, in addition to having preparing your CAB framework and all that, there is always a likelihood that the negotiation will fail. And if it fails, or if it's not as anticipated, then what do? You need to come up with alternatives. Like, if it happens, then what do I do? What alternatives and what fallback option do I have? So you list down all your alternatives, rank them, and come up with your top ranked alternative. If your top ranked alternative is great, for example, I'm going for a job interview. If I don't get the job, what do I do? Let's say I have 3 or 4 different alternatives. One is I will go for maybe go to school again, or go to school basically and get some more knowledge, information. Maybe I'll go and a much needed break, and I have this interest to travel around, and maybe I'll take a little break and travel around. So if you could put all those different options, list all of them down. Maybe I'll stay in my current job, list all of them down, and then identify the top ranked alternative. If your top ranked alternative is great, which basically means you have a strong alternative, so your train is great, basically it gives you the confidence and the courage to go into the negotiation, not feeling the need or the desperate need to close the negotiation at whatever price or whatever condition. So assess your alternatives, come up with your train, and make sure that you have a good train, or are able to identify your train, because that gives you the confidence. In terms of simple visual, basically, if there is no deal, there is no success and low impact. If you get the reservation price, there might be some success in the negotiation, but the impact is low because you got your base level of price. If you had to fall back on your train, there is no success of the negotiation, but at least a higher impact, because your train is your strongest alternative, and at least you feel that you got a strong alternative. And the best case scenario is the highest impact and success is where you nailed it. You got a much better price than your reservation price. You didn't have to fall back on your train, and you got a good deal. That's when it's the best for you. Now, types of negotiations. You all know probably there's some standard types, like the standard two-party negotiation. There's intergroup, intragroup. There's a multi-party negotiation. There are coalitions. I think you probably know or have heard of all these. But then there's something called a click-through negotiation these days, which is basically you as a user sitting and negotiating with an algorithm on the other side. How does that work? Is you go online, you start putting in your information. Based on your information, the algorithm provides you more information. Like if you go for to book a online travel, I think most of us have done that. Based on all the information that we provide, the dates, the locations, the option whether I want a direct flight, or maybe I'm okay to go on like a couple of stops or whatever information. Based on all that, it's giving you. And as you keep changing information, it gives you more information, because it's looking at all your interests and trying to come up with a solution. And you can also package, for example, airfare with the hotel, and you get a better price and things like that. So you are actually effectively negotiating with the algorithm on the other side. Same thing with Amazon. I think we all have shopped on Amazon, and it bundles things for you. It gives you a subscription. It gives you options. What else can you buy? Things like that. So that's about the prepare phase. Now on to engage. Engage is another critical phase of the whole process, because all that you have prepared comes into actual effect when you execute it, and you do that in the engage phase. So in the engage phase is where you have the interaction with the other party, and that has to be proper, because only when you properly engage and interact with the other party, that's when you are able to provide them an idea of what you want, understand what they want, and come up with the solutions. All that happens during the engage phase. So as you can see, it's probably critical or make or break in your negotiation. So the first part is the interaction. In interactions, what you do is you might have come up with your interest. You might have assessed maybe what their interest would be, but then you have to build on the interest during the engage phase. There might be circumstances or conditions or discussions that might lead you to change your interest or your assessment of their interest. So all that is done in interaction phase. Even alternatives, you might have some alternatives that might change based on what you hear in the interaction. And then the other part is the actual conduct in the interaction. So behaviors are key. We will look at some of the behaviors later, but this engage phase is where you bring all the behaviors into actual execution, and this is the most important phase where you are highlighting those behaviors. And proper behaviors, again, proper or improper inadequate behaviors can make or break your negotiation. Some of the characteristics that you need to demonstrate or build upon during this engage phase is spontaneity, making quick decisions. This obviously can be practiced, and you can do a lot to come up with that characteristic. Persistence, very important. The art of persisting is what finally has helped many people to come up with some solutions. Maybe it's not the ideal solution, but you get at least something out of it if you keep persisting. And many people just give up, but it is quite a key characteristic. Courage to ask. I have heard so many times that I don't have the courage to ask. If you have a strong if you have a strong point, you need to have the courage to ask. And optimism, I call it neg-optimism in my book, but this is the positive behavior. Basically what this means is I think you have to get out of all your biases. If you know that you're going to negotiate with your colleague, and he has a certain characteristic, or you have heard something about him, keep all those biases out of it. Go with optimism, go with the best preparation, and that will help you. I see a message from Jazz, I think, about empathy. We'll come to that in a bit. That's part of the behaviors. Framing, this is another critical part of the engage phase, is where how you present the data or information to the other party. Now, based on how you present is the other party's reaction that results out of how you have presented the information. If you present something as a gain to the other party, they are more likely to accept your solution and makes them risk averse and more likely for you to get a solution. If you present something as a loss or something that they might that might be negative for them, it is more likely that you will not get a very effective result. So always try to see how you can present it as a loss to the other party. There is something called a perceptual contrast effect, which basically also means that when you present something, I also call it a high value, low value strategy, is basically when you present something, if there is a very high value item, you can actually combine a few low value items. This is more of a sales technique, a sales tactic that people uses when you sell a high value item, sell a few low value items, package it along with that. So this is something that you can use as a part of the framing. And then also one of the ways of framing is um, when you have a bunch of items, you put in a couple of high value items among all the lower value items. The high value item psychologically is what then triggers them to go for the low value items, and all you're trying to do is sell the low value items. You have just parked the high value item in that mix. So this happens a lot in restaurants where you go and you see a menu card with several different bottles of wine. One bottle will be $300 and most of the others will be $70-$80, and you'll say, okay, I don't want this $300, I want the $80 wine. And those are the wines they are trying to sell more. If you get the $300 wine, it's an additional bonus for them, but basically they're trying to sell you the $80 wine. So these are some of the techniques as a part of framing. Let's go into anchoring. So anchoring basically is, again, critical. When you go into a negotiation, anchor is your first offer. Similarly, anchor from the other side is their first offer. Obviously, during prepare phase, you will identify what can be my anchor. Like, what should I go in? What should I present as my anchor or my first offer? But it is in the engage phase where you actually deliver the anchor. And once you have delivered the anchor and the other party has delivered their anchor, that's when you go and negotiate based on the anchors. So you'll have to adjust your anchors upwards or downwards during the engage phase. And that's why it's critical, because everything that you have prepared now actually comes into the execution phase and fruition. And you need to be able to make quick decisions. And that's what I meant by spontaneity. Make quick decisions, adjust anchors quickly, justify your anchors. So your anchor should be based on valid, factual information, and it should be justifiable, so that when you put in the anchor, it doesn't lead to mistrust or loss of trust. And if you just pick anchors out of the air, it is going to more likely result in a trust issue because you might not be able to justify it. And another important point is beware of the adjustment of anchors. So let's say you have put in an anchor of 100 and the other party has come up with, let's say, 20. Now you reduce it to, let's say, 80 next. After 80, the next reduction in the anchor should not be more than the initial, the $20 reduction. So your reduction of the anchor should be smaller and smaller and smaller. So from 80 to maybe 70, 70 to 65, 65 to 62, whatever that number is. This is hypothetical, but reduce the reduction so that at some point they feel that there is nothing else that can be done. Now, if you go from 100 to 90, 90 to 60, basically the other party is not able to get any indication as to what the real price could be. Maybe from 60 you'll even go down to 20 or whatever. So again, that adjustment of anchors is very important. So let's go into close phase. Close is where you actually close the transaction, of course, the negotiation. All your effort in the prepare and engage phase is going to come to a closure. So you need to have the consensus properly agreed with the other party, all the terms and conditions, everything agreed, all the necessary approvals have been obtained. So you check all that. then you put all the terms and conditions down, maybe on an email or on a contract or whatever. And then finally, handshake is where you sign off or you send the email or you sign off the contract, and that's where it makes it final. And then maybe some of the other aspects of communication, like maybe do we need a press release, or do we need to communicate it to a parent company, or things like that. All those things have to be finalized at the time of handshake, or done at the time of handshake. So a lot of these things you have to agree before, like who needs to approve, who do we need to communicate, do we need to tell the board that we have done this, do we need to do a press release. All those things have to be identified. That's why closing the negotiation is very important, because if you miss a couple of steps in the closing, your effort is all wasted. And like I heard in one of the Harvard seminars that I attended, nothing is agreed until everything is agreed. Meaning, if you miss a couple of steps and you don't agree finally, don't have a sign off, the handshake, the whole effort is wasted. So keep that in mind. This we will skip. I think we will go on to behaviors. Now, behaviors, as I have been highlighting, behaviors is part of the art of negotiation. So in the whole process that we just went through, like prepare, engage, and close, behaviors fits in there somewhere, more in the engage phase, like I told you. And it is very important for you to succeed in your negotiation. So behaviors is where you get the trust and credibility of the other party. So you earn respect. In many cultures, you actually develop relations first before you even go into the discussion. So Guanxi, for example, in Chinese culture, basically is where you go and build the relations first and don't even talk about business in the first 2 or 3 meetings, and so on. So it's very important to build that trust and credibility and the relationships, be flexible and things like that. So earn trust and credibility. That is going to make it a smoother negotiation. Communication, very important. How do you have the right communication? Be a good listener. Ask open-ended questions, because that's how you get to understand what they want, and so on. So that's the communication part. And then emotions. So body language and emotions. In many cultures, you need to pay specific attention on the body language, because it could, again, something that it might lead to maybe a loss of trust if you don't follow proper body language. As you can see, in many cultures, the body language is very different. You need to demonstrate confidence. So if you go with a very low confidence, or you're not confident about your abilities and so on, it's going to be more likely a straight away a stop in your negotiation, like a block to what you're negotiating. Be considerate to their feelings. So this is where the empathy part comes in. It is very important, and especially now in these days when we have everything going on in terms of our environment and situation, it is very important to be considerate of their feeling. Also, hopefully they are also attentive to that, and empathy becomes one of the key parts of the emotions and body language, also in terms of getting trust and credibility, and avoid hostility. These are nothing new, but I'm just highlighting that these are the behaviors. Now, in addition to this, like I mentioned earlier, there are a couple of considerations. One is culture. So I touched on this earlier. It is very important that we pay attention, close attention to cultures, because cultures, again, is something that can make or break a negotiation. If you read the story of the different cultures, that basically, if you read more about the cultures, and you see that if you don't follow the cultures of a specific culture, don't follow the cultural aspects of a culture, you're more likely to create that environment where the other party is not likely to go ahead with the negotiation, because the loss of trust happens at that stage. For example, Lehman Brothers, when they were talking to Korea Development Bank in 2008, the whole deal, KDB was going to acquire Lehman Brothers. The whole deal was almost finalized, but at the end, the CEO, Dick Fuld, he made a huge cultural blunder, and that actually closed or block the negotiation, because the Korean Development Bank authorities walked away not feeling good about it. So culture, very important. And the other one is style. Style is, everybody has an inherent style. You need to know what your style is, but the other party also has a style. So then you start working according to the styles, and you assess what their style is. You create solutions or strategies based on the style. So that is very important. Just a quick check, Jas, how much time do we have? Um, in terms of time, are we okay?
We have a few more minutes. If you could maybe wrap this up in 5.
Yeah, so let's wrap this up. I just want to highlight to you maybe about the, let's not do a lot of this, but I just want to mention the influencing techniques to you. So influencing techniques are basically uh, tools of influencing that you use. And why do you need influencing techniques? Is because you're dealing with people, and there are some tools that specifically have an influencing impact on people. So it's all about people. That's why you need some of these influencing techniques. Now, what are these techniques? You have a connecting technique category, where you have 3 different techniques. You have committing category, and then you have controlling category. Let's quickly do a quick 2 minutes on all of these. So reciprocation is give and take. So in a negotiation, when you give, you are more likely to get something back. So this is how it works. Bonding is developing the relationships. References is trying to get somebody else to refer you to the other party. So you bring somebody else who refers you. Committing is to get a promise from somebody beforehand, and once you get a promise, they are more likely to fulfill that promise. Same thing with vested is where you're working with multiple parties. You get all of those multiple parties aligned separately before the vote happens, or before the final meeting happens. And if you've got all of them aligned, then you're more likely to get a positive result. So that's those are two committing techniques. And then controlling techniques, basically these have an effect of control on your mind. So for example, authority, you bring in the authority of maybe a law, or a certain person with who is an expert, or with a title or whatever, and that leads to a control on the mind of the other party. Loss anxiety is to present something that if they don't act immediately, they might lose something, and that leads them to be influenced by it. And then vividness is presenting something extraordinarily that immediately leaves an effect on your mind, and you make a decision. None of these are meant to be adverse. They are all techniques that you can use properly and justifiably and fairly, and still influence the other party. So I think I'll stop here. There is a lot more. There are common pitfalls. I can send these slides out later. Just I'll send it to you, and whoever has joined today, they can get the slides. But maybe do some Q&A, I think.
Yeah, let's maybe kick off with, sometimes when you talk about cultural negotiations, in what cultures does a no kind of mean yes, or a yes kind of mean no, really?
So these are subtle cultural behaviors and impact that you need to study beforehand. For example, in the British culture, they never directly say no, whereas in the American culture, no means basically you have made a decision, and it's okay to say no. Whereas in a British culture, or even in Southeast Asian cultures, they generally don't say no that directly or straightforward. They might indicate to you what they mean by something that they have said, and it's more likely to mean no. So these are things that you have to analyze and study before you go into negotiation. So if you're negotiating with maybe a Japanese team or a Indonesian team, you need to understand and read more about what their culture is, and the impact of that cultural aspects on your negotiation.
I see. Thank you. So salary negotiations, what's the best way to approach this?
So great question. I think I'll break that into 2 different parts. One is salary negotiation when you're actually going for a new job. Mm-hmm. The other could be a salary negotiation when you're already in a job, right? Mm-hmm. So when you're going into a new job, obviously if you have done well in the interview, and what I mean by doing well is you have highlighted your CAV framework. Basically, what do you bring to the company? What are what are your abilities? I mean, something unique. Obviously, you have your technical abilities and knowledge and everything and experience, but in addition, what special abilities do you have? So that's the E. So C, A, and then V. What additional value can you bring? Maybe you have some contacts uh, in a in a charitable organization that you can bring in for the company in terms of charity, or maybe you're part of a mentor group, or you're part of um, an alumni or a board, and things like that that might be more meaningful to the company. So if you have all these highlighted at the time of your interview, and of course one of the other big things is if you have demonstrated the correct behaviors. Basically, if you had 3 or 4 different rounds of interview and you went through all those, and people felt that you were the right candidate because of the behaviors. You were cordial, you were good to talk to, and you will fit with the team. If you have done your CAV framework and you have developed the appropriate behaviors, so basically you need to prepare well in advance that you do these 2 things properly. If you have done that and you get shortlisted to the last 1 or 2 candidates, that's when the position of power shifts slightly to you, in the sense that as a hiring manager, I know this for a fact, that if I have got down to the stage that I have the last 1 or 2 candidates, now I have to pick from one or two. Maybe it's the last candidate. So that at that stage, you should then be able to highlight salary negotiation. You should bring in like you should have the confidence, courage to ask. Maybe even bring in a few different options that you have. I've had a case where in one of my workshops, a participant who went through the workshop finally came and told me that I wish I had attended this class earlier, because when I joined 6 months ago or 8 months ago, um, I did not know some of these things, and I did not negotiate for a sign-in bonus, and I think I would have probably left some value on the table. So you need to know what are the other options you have. Maybe it's not only the pay; it's a sign-on bonus, sign-on bonus. Um, Maybe tuition reimbursement, maybe stocks. There are so many different things that you can find out. Obviously, you do your background research and you find out what all those things are. But at the same time, go in with all the different options and don't stick with only the salary part. So that's when you're going into a new company for a job. But if you're in the job already, again, CAV framework comes into the picture. What are you doing already? What is the benefit that you bring? What are you doing extra? What is your addition? What is your ability? Basically, what is special in what you're doing? Maybe you're already working at one level higher. Maybe you're doing projects. Maybe you are mentoring some people junior people in the team. Maybe in my case, for example, I have hosted 20 plus sessions on negotiation in the company. Obviously, that has some impact, because I'm training people. Training L&D is such a big part of an employee, that if you are a trainer, you obviously get recognized for it. So if you're doing all that, your CAV framework is great. Then basically it is almost a no-brainer that you should be able to go and ask for pay increase. And again, when it comes to salary increase, you should have the courage to ask. Not only the salary, maybe there's another way that they have a discretionary bonus. All hiring managers have a discretionary bonus quota. I think most of you know that. So maybe they can do something on that. Maybe they can do stocks for you or whatever. So those are the things that you have to find out. Maybe they'll help you with the tuition reimbursement. So all the different things that I mentioned come into the picture when you're negotiating your salary, even if you're in the job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Listen, earlier on, Anuj, we also had a question from a research psychologist who is curious to hear more about the kind of research you drew upon to develop your negotiation recommendations and how you went about doing that.
Oh, I love that question, by the way. So I'm so happy that you asked that, and I'm happy actually to talk to you offline also. But just for the interest of everybody in this call, in this session, I'll highlight to you some of the things that I have done. Now, initially, I mean, basically, I have 20 plus years of experience in the industry. I have worked at Google. I've been part of Visa for the last 7-8 years. I have worked with uh, big four consulting firms, and basically I have been part of the industry for long. I have been negotiating for a very long time. When I joined business school and I had these couple of courses, one on leadership with influencing and one actually on negotiations. I had a full negotiation course of 4.5 days. It actually stuck in the back of my mind that we do this every day. And why is it that I'm only learning negotiation? And most of you answered in that question also, we don't learn negotiation. We don't read negotiation. Why is that? I realized that at the time of my business school that I probably have left value on the table over my career. I could even count some of those cases. And I said, this is not good. I'm going to make it an effort. My mission basically to start teaching people negotiation. And off late, I'm teaching kids now negotiation because I want to provide and present my perspectives on negotiation to everybody as much as possible so that you can take this as a topic that is important. It's an essential life skill, basically. You take it as a topic that is important and start working on it. Now, as a part of that, I actually I read several books. I have done, like I said, close to 30 sessions. Every session gives me um, a score. I get feedback, I get scores. I also get meaningful improvement ideas. So I document those somewhere. What I have in my workshop today is stark difference from what I had like 4 years ago because of all the feedback that I've got. So I have feedback. I observe people a lot at work. Once you know this information that I've shared with you, observe people. They are negotiating. People are negotiating with you. People are negotiating amongst each other. Note what they're doing. Keep it in the back of your mind. I have read, like I said, read books, seen so many videos. I'm part of I did the Harvard program on negotiation seminar. So I got a certification from Harvard. And based on everything that I have done, I compiled everything. I put everything into on paper, basically into my book. So it is through the research, through talking to people, through interviewing people, observing people, and doing all that is how I came up with my information. Of course, as a part of that, I was able to even go back to my own history and pull out some cases where I had struggled in negotiation. I was not a good, I would say maybe I was even a horrible negotiator before, like 7 years ago. And I have made that conscious effort to double down on my efforts to learn this topic. So anybody can actually do that. It's not that I have something great or exceptional. If you put in a little bit more attention to this topic, you can also become great negotiators. I don't know if that answers the question. Happy to talk more.
Sure. Thank you for that, Anuj. And then, as a parting shot, perhaps two more questions. One is a mantra or phrase that I will use as a reminder while negotiating. This came up in the survey questions. And then the final question is, what was your most difficult negotiating experience?
Yeah, sure. So I'll take the first one. Basically, the mantra has to be the fact that I have done everything necessary to prepare myself to go into the negotiation with confidence, right? So when I go into the negotiation with confidence, basically what that means is the engage phase will be easier, and then you'll be able to close it properly. So that prepare part is very important. So I have done everything to prepare myself to go into the negotiation, and I strive to have the most appropriate behaviors in the negotiation. If you have these two things clearly identified, your negotiations will be successful.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And the last question, what was my most difficult experience is at work. We had a project where we were coming up with a new operational structure and a way of working. We did great work on that. We created process flows. We identified how this process will benefit the company, and we did everything, but at the last moment it got stuck, and we spent so much effort, and that's why it's painful, is we spent so much effort on it, but last moment it got stuck because there was another team involved, and that team had an ego clash, so some kind of an ego issues. And we were not able to work through that ego problem or ego issues, and that actually almost blocked our effort, and then my manager left, so we also had to close down that project. So all our great effort in preparing, engaging could not go through because of that final ego clash.
And how did that, what did you do to break through that?
So basically, I mean, after that we realized that the ego clashes are not going to work. So there was a new organizational structure that we were proposing. It was not going to work, so we left it there. And on our own team side, we tried to find the whole process of that was we were trying to find some operational improvement ideas. We said we are not going to bring this team in. We are going to find operational improvement in our own area. So that's how it finally boiled down to.
I see. So certainly a lot of, it's often very complex type of negotiating with personalities involved.
Yes, of course.
Very interesting. And I feel at home, there's often a lot of emotion involved as well when we're negotiating. And sometimes we use unfair levers for negotiating.
Right. And that's why I wrote this book, We Can Negotiate Too. So ignore this is a proof copy, but basically the book, this is for kids and young adults, so that the kids and young adults at an early age can learn negotiation, and basically that will benefit them over their longer term, but also benefits the parents, because what I teach is how to have proper behaviors, how to have win-win in your mind. And if they do that, then it affects everybody. It benefits everybody in the family.
Okay.
So I wrote that book, and I just want to take the opportunity also to highlight that I'm starting a new program, a workshop for kids. It's a 10-part program where I'm teaching them negotiation, also teaching them laws of growth, and doing a personality assessment, all that as a part of that program. So if you are interested, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm doing a free webinar next Friday to highlight what the benefits of that program are.
Okay, awesome. That sounds awesome. Great. So we'll send out the link to folks who registered for this session as well.
Sure.
Perfect. Now, we promised folks a drawing for one of your books. Anuj, what book are we going to be drawing this evening?
So this is my first book, and I'm going to present the hardcover, which is a more elegant copy. There are two versions of this. One is the hardcover and one is the paperback. The paperback is the soft cover, but the hardcover is more elegant. So I'm going to share to include this in the drawing for whoever wins.
Okay, well, perfect. So let's do a drawing with where we perhaps go with birthdays. That might be easiest to do because it's sometimes really hard to figure out how to actually do this across virtual rooms. So let's have a quick randomizer in terms of dates. So Anuj, give us a month. Pick a month.
Let's go with April.
April. Okay. William, give us a date, please. Okay, William might be still on mute. How about Mark? Are you still on?
4th.
Okay, 4th.
Yeah.
So 4th of April. Whose birthday is closest to 4th of April? First of all, do we have any April babies here? Or April adults, as it were? No April adults. So no 4th too. Pick another month.
January.
January. Anybody from January? Any January adults here? Nobody from January as well.
Or let's do who is closest to January. So let's assume the date is January 8th.
Okay.
Who is the closest to January 8th in the group?
Anybody December? Anybody January or February? I'm June, so that's pretty far off.
Yeah. Anybody in November, December, February?
Wow, it looks like everybody's on the other spectrum, or maybe June side of the house.
March, October, March.
No?
Wow.
Well, maybe, everyone's kind of shy about the birthdays. So maybe we'll have to do an offline random drawing then for different participants here, since no one is sharing their birthdays now, or maybe everyone is on mute. So wait, we can do one more shot. Anybody in the February birthday zone? Anybody in December? Anybody in March? Anybody in November? Anybody in April? Back to April? No.
No,
Anybody?
of course. October?
No. Nope. October babies. That's great. Great, because we're sure there's no October babies. Kind of feels like we have some. Okay. No October babies. So then we go to April, May. Any May babies? May? No? Wow. Anuj, it looks like everybody is, we're getting to April, no May, going the other side. September. Anybody from September? September, Dan. Yay. Great. You're the first one that raised your hand. September,
Wow.
baby. Way to go. So Danu, shall we settle it? Dan is the winner here?
Yes.
Congrats. Well done. I was going to come to June very shortly, but Dan, you beat me to it. Okay, Dan, can you message me to ensure that you can message me privately so that I have your email address and we can get this across to you.
And I would like to send you the hard copy, so I'll need your address, even who to I'm going to sign it for you, so who to address it, whether it's to you or anybody else, but I'm going to sign it and send it to you.
Great. Yeah, once we have your email address, we can connect with you easily. I know we have it through registration as well, but it's often faster this way. Perfect. I got it now. Thank you. So Anuj and I will...
does that mean that everybody else was within like June, July, August?
Yeah, it looks like I was a June baby, so definitely.
Wow.
But yeah, this cohort here, very interesting. We have 12 folks, and all birthdays seem to be all the same. All right. So thank you very much, Anuj. Very interesting information. And certainly we hope to learn more and read more through the book that we have here. Any parting words from the organizers? Mark, what did you think of today's session?
I think it was very positive, because many of us came in on a nervous camp thinking that the other side is out to get you. And as you said, really, the point is to get to a win-win, but I think more pertinently to really understand the positions. So it's a very amicable entryway, not a I guess confrontational style. Maybe some of us have bad memories of car salesmen, and you want to point out that there's a lot more than negotiation than that kind of one-stop shop thing. You want to look at how to make business, personal relationships work, and negotiations are part of that. So it's very helpful. Just kind of giving some structure to it.
Yep, indeed. I think so too. Very, very practical.
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. William, any comments from your end? I know you had no questions, which was great.
No, I just wanted to thank the team, the SGConnect team, and Anuj. I think my main takeaway was the positive spin that you put on your approach to negotiations, which tends to be overshadowed when we always go for the maximum results. So and also your interest in reaching out to children, I think is a very interesting approach. We tend to forget about negotiating with the younger, the youth and the younger children. And I think your focus on this group of people is very interesting and should be given more focus. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's really good insight. I agree with you too. Yeah, oftentimes we try to drive for maximum gain on our own, right? Forgetting the win-win side of things makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hui, any comments before we wrap up?
Nothing further from me. Thanks, Anuj, for sharing.
Sure, my pleasure.
Thanks. And David or Karen? Not sure which one of you is on.
Hey, hello.
Hey,
hello, Anuj. Nice to see you again, man. Hey, Jasmine. I like your outfit. You're ready for Halloween. The Zoom has made you ready for Halloween.
I know it has, right? Love the virtual backgrounds.
Yeah, she's the only one who had the costume on, so kudos, great one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I echo what Mark and CG said earlier. In particular, I like your analogy about the sharing of orange. So I think it's something that I'll remember. Yeah, it's about being more deliberate to try to understand from the other party's perspective as well, as to why they are pushing for that position, and then potentially can get a win-win, as opposed to trying to see as a pie and just limited resources. Yeah, right. So thank you so much for doing this, man. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Again, it's my pleasure. Like I said, I'm passionate about teaching, and this topic is of keen interest. So happy to answer any questions. Like I mentioned earlier, you can, whoever is here, you can contact me on LinkedIn. You can contact me via the WhatsApp group. There are several different ways to contact me.
Yes, perfect. Well, we appreciate it, Anuj, again, for this very insightful meeting. And we all know a little better about how to negotiate and get the best deal for everyone, not just ourselves, which is excellent. And I love the cultural nuggets as well. That's always very interesting to hear how everyone negotiates differently, right? And
absolutely.
So perfect. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for yet another interesting Singapore Connect event. Many thanks to all our co-organizers, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Singapore Global Network for the sponsorship of the Zoom bridge, and of course, Anuj, our special speaker this evening on negotiations. All right, bye for now, everyone.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Have a great Sunday tomorrow. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.